There's an audio company I've worked with for almost 2 years now, and that's Apos.audio. I've covered amps and DACs, and I've covered headphones from their website before. I've even covered a couple keyboards in the past, including the Idabo ID67, which I'll be doing a typing test on to compare to this later. Apos Audio is expanding their keyboard and peripheral stuff. You know, they have more keycaps and switches and mats and keyboards, and today I'm happy to talk about the WhiteFox Eclipse. Now, the WhiteFox Eclipse is a fully built custom style keyboard. It comes in 3 variants right now, and the plastic chassis is $120. This is the low profile version, which with a price cut is down to $185 now, and then they have the thicker version, which is $275. It's a thicker chassis, it's a bit heavier, but all in all, it's a very comparable keyboard. Now, they do have a chassis kit for like $60 if you want to build your own, but again, that's with the plastic chassis. Because of the way this is priced, to get a chassis this good and decent switches, I'd recommend at least considering the low profile build because you're actually getting quite a bit in terms of quality at that price. Now, this was sent to me for review by Apos Audio, and it won't affect what I say. I have generic affiliate links with them like anything I've covered for them in the past, but there's no kickback for the review or special deals or anything worked out. You don't even have to use my links to purchase it because it won't really save you any money. It's just to show that the purchase came from watching my video. So purchase it however you like. Now, with that in mind, it doesn't affect what I say, but I also don't want to ever make reviews like this to say that this is the best keyboard at this price. Because even if I felt that way, it won't be for everybody. People don't want a white keyboard. Some people want illumination where you can see the glow through the keycaps, or maybe you want other specific features like what FiO does with the KB3, having an amp in it. So there's a lot of stuff to consider out there. This Hall effect, this, wooting is the big elephant in the room in this space if you're looking for features. So it really comes down to understanding what these products have, what they bring to the table, and if that aligns with what you're looking for, then maybe it'd still be an option. Now, the WhiteFox Eclipse comes with the Gateron KS9 Pros. They're yellow linear switches with a 50-gram actuation force. And basically, it's the same thing as the G Pros. The KS9s are basically the SMD equivalent capable switches. They're designed for PCBs that have an SMD illumination. Now, these are 5-pin. It is hot swappable. You can pull the switch out with no problem. It even comes with the tool, and you can do any 5-pin switch or 3-pin switch. Now, it's a south-facing LED, so depending on what keycap and legend design that you pick, keep that in mind that the glow is going to come on the lower side of the switch, not the top. Now, as you just saw, it does light up, and that's for 2 reasons. One, of course, it has RGB. That's required to light up. And you have the function key on the right where I can change through quite a few different modes. I can change the brightness, I can turn it off entirely, and this does have a 4000 milliamp battery pack, which depending on your RGB settings, the battery life will vary. Now, all of that is serviceable. I'm going to take this chassis apart and show you how that works, but I do want to cover a couple other things. So you have 3 onboard Bluetooth profiles. Again, using the function key, you have the QWE to select which Bluetooth profile you want. So you can pair this to multiple devices, and it has a Mac compatible mode. So I'm going to open this up and show you what it comes with, because it does come with extra caps if you are using it on a Mac. It's a pretty slick box, so I'm going to remove this here. Now, obviously, I've opened this and used it, so this is going to have some loose plastic inside, and I've even pulled out some of the tools. So there are a few things I want to cover in here. One, it comes with extra caps, and you can see the control option and command buttons. You can also see the Fox logo, and you have the blue arrow keys if you want to customize the color. You also have a blue escape key. You have a plastic pry tool and a keycap and switch puller, so it's nice that it comes in the box. Again, for $185, this is kind of the norm for higher end keyboards in this price range, but you do get a cable as well. It's obviously detachable. It's nice that it's not rubber, and I really like that it's also white because it matches the keyboard. Personally, I like that it's a nice jacket, it's like a nylon jacket. When I'm going with a higher end keyboard build, I just prefer the coiled cable. I think it's a nicer look on my desk. This is still decent in the box, just a matter of, if that fits the style that you're looking for. Now, this thing is pretty cool. These little discs are magnet feet. Unlike most keyboards that have the feet that you kick out to elevate the keyboard, if you want to give this a little bit of a lip, just drop those in place. I'm going to spin this back around, and now I have a nicer typing profile. It's angled towards me a little bit, so it's a different look. Now, is it perfect? No, because it's magnetic. It's not permanently attached. If this has a really sticky grab on your desk, depending on what your desk is like, it can pop off. When I had this on my glass desk and not a felt or like a desk mat, it does stick enough where if I wasn't careful, I did pop one off at one point. Overall, it's not too bad, but I think it's kind of cool because it's an innovative way of doing things and it looks pretty nice. And then of course on the top you have your USB cable and the switch. All right, so I want to show you a couple of really cool things about this. So I'm going to turn this off first. Now this is a gasket mount chassis and there are no screws. It's all magnetic, just like the feet, but there aren't any screws that you have to remove if you want to access the PCB. If I grab several switches, you can see that I can kind of kick the whole board up and expose the underside of the PCB. Now you can take this apart if you want to service or replace the entire board, but you can see there's a little foam gasket that mounts it to the top plate. So this is again to help with sound. The real selling point of this board isn't so much all the gaming features like the double switch actuation or the Hall effect switches. It's a more traditional mechanical keyboard, but it does give you a very premium typing experience. Then you have the foam under here and then of course the battery. Now this is removable. I can just pop this cable off, but the battery is strongly adhered to the bottom. So you have to be very careful removing this if you ever did have to replace the battery. It will be replaceable, but don't use a metal tool and accidentally puncture it because it's a lithium battery, of course, so just be careful. All right, so it's time to hear how this board compares to some others. Now, I didn't modify a few of them. So the SteelSeries Apex Mini Pro, that's completely stock. I didn't touch it, has PBT caps in stock. SteelSeries Hall effect switches, the magnetic switches, and then you have the FIO KB3, which I use a lot. This also has a yellow switch, and you have my Idabo ID67, which I custom built. This was a full build with Apos parts. I bought the board, or received the board from Apos Audio. Then I did an Apos keycap set along with switches. So the switches I got were the Gateron Yellows. I did order those on Amazon. I just like the yellows the more I've been using them. Then we have my Win Studio Sign 65, which is a $400 build when you factor in the caps. These caps were also from Apos.audio, so you can kind of see a theme here. I've been experimenting with a lot of their stuff lately. That's a more extreme build. It uses the ApoMaker sea salts. Those switches are like a baby blue color. They're designed to be extremely quiet. They're a little spongy and soft. They don't feel as direct or linear as the yellow switches, but with that being said, let's start typing on it, and I'll start with the WhiteFox just as the litmus test. Idabo ID65. SteelSeries Apex. The FIO KB3. And then the Win Studio Sign 65. So I'm going to just do a couple stabs here at the backspace, shift, spacebar, etc. Spacebar. Obviously, you're not going to be hitting your key switches that hard, but I did want to do that test so you can compare. Now, there aren't any resonance issues with the WhiteFox Eclipse either, so I'm going to hit these keys a few times. Ironically, the most expensive board has a little bit of resonance compared to some of these. This is really, it's so dampened and dead. I really do like gasket mount, and when it's set up like this where the PCB is sandwiched between two foam pieces, it really helps absorb all of that, but it doesn't have like a spongy soft feeling either. I think the typing feel is the biggest selling point with this, not so much all the features. Now, I actually do like the sound of this board quite a bit. I don't think it quite goes as quiet as the extreme build I did with the Win Studio board, which that one still needs spacebar work, admittedly. I'm sure you heard that in the typing test. This sounds excellent out of the box. What's kind of special about this is they wanted to give you like a premium ownership experience, kind of like the DIY build ownership experience if you select really good components without having to actually do all that and build it yourself. This is kind of like a turnkey custom feel. And if you like white, that's kind of its selling point. Another benefit of this is it's VIA and QMK compatible. So if you want to address the firmware and make customizations, you can go to either website to do that. I recommend Via just because I think it's easier to use, it's more intuitive, and it gives me all of the stuff I need to customize this to better fit my particular setup. Now that about wraps up the review, and this is not going to be for everyone. I open with that because frankly we value things differently, and that's cool. This is definitely not going to be as competitive as like a purpose-built Hall effect gaming keyboard like a Drunk Deer or a Wooting or the new stuff coming out from Razer. SteelSeries is doing updates, so there's all these changes on that landscape that's adding tons of ridiculous gaming features and macros and double switch, you name it. This is more for a generalist. I think it works great for gaming. I'm not a pro gamer on mouse and keyboard. I don't do all those extra steps. I basically play games like Call of Duty, Apex, and X-Defiant lately, so I haven't needed that stuff because often I end up using a controller. I'm just more competitive with a controller, especially because I switched to some more competitive controllers lately, which I will be talking about. So hopefully this helped you at least understand more about this keyboard, or at least know that Apos.audio is selling all of this other keyboard stuff. Their prices are really good, especially the desk mats. They kind of blow me away on quality. I have received and purchased several of them. So take a look at the website. Even if this isn't your spec, maybe you find a build that you like. Something to keep in mind. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'd love to see you at the next video. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.